Yeah.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, fellow lolsters, aspiring authors and viewers. Today we have Joe Garrick, an interesting author from, North Carolina, the United States of America. And we seldom have male authors, and we happily welcome Joe Garrick to LOL Season 2. Over to Danya for a proper introduction.
Thank you. Joe Garrick is the author of Who Spooked the Stats, Billy the Dentist, and the Best Bagel Book. Joe is a North Carolina native who grew up in Hickory, NC, and attended the Appalachian State University. Joe currently works as the Director of Business Development for a full-service digital marketing agency based in Charleston. Joe is also an aspiring custom hat maker, occasional wedding officiant, and a new dad. Joe has always had a love for music, especially rap and hip hop. Though Joe's hip hop career hasn't quite taken off yet, he thought it would be nice to transition his creative skills into a different avenue that will hopefully reach a lot of people. Joe loves to make others laugh, and the goal of all his books are to do just that.
That's very. I mean, first time dad. So
yeah, first time dad. That's not in there. I like how
yes,
every time it reads about the rap career, everybody always seems to laugh at that a little bit.
Yes. Then let's go with the first question.
Yeah,
what does it take? What does it take to make your readers laugh? What do you do to make your readers laugh? Let's begin there, and from there we can take it on.
So what does it take to make the readers laugh? Well, I think it's always important to find something that people can relate to. If people can relate to it, they can understand to it, then they feel like it's a part of them, or they're welcome, or it's something that they can recognize. We all like to be a part of something, and so rhyming is always important. At least I have found, especially in the children's book space, and a little bit talking about my bio is, since I love rap and hip hop, I've always had some skill in that space, and that was why it was easier for me to transition into children's books. So my books are about all different kinds of things, from the ABCs and animals to what kind of feet they have, to a book about a dentist that was actually a project for a friend of mine, and then the third one currently is about all the different flavors of bagels, and that was also going to be a project for someone else. That they got so busy, I decided I was just going to take it on and run with it. So I think the images are important.
Yeah.
I get a lot of compliments on the artwork, and I don't do the illustrations. Now, when I write a book, I typically put together a description of what I want these characters to be doing, and then the illustrators bring it to life. And my illustrators are from all over the world. They happen to all be ladies. One is from Brazil, who lives in Berlin. One is from Mexico City, and one was a grad student here from one of the art schools in the States. And I like, when I look at it as like a partnership, and I let them open up a little bit. Sometimes I may be very detailed in that description, sometimes I'm not. So that's key. But when you make things rhyme, people tend to find those things funny. You're like, oh wow, that makes sense. And then it comes to being witty and a little bit of wordplay. And how do you make a joke out of it? One of my books is talks about a llama, right? And stomping her hoofs, but this llama who her favorite club is drama. So people can relate to, oh, it's dramatic, or it's in a class in school or something like that. Just something that takes real world experiences and puts it in with humor, to relate to the kids.
Do you have the book with you? Can you read a bit to us? How do you, I mean, any part of the book to get us, for us to know, you can show us.
Sure. So this was the first book I wrote, and it's called Whose Hoof Is That? And this is about the ABCs, animals, and what kind of feet they have.
Mhm.
Now, I chose feet just because I thought it would be funny, and there's so many ABC books out there. I needed something that would stand out, and I knew that if I went with the ABCs, the platform is kind of already laid out there for me. I could find animals that start with these letters. I could do a little bit of research to see if they have toes or hooves or claws, whatever it may be. And there is actually an audio video that goes along with this of me
Okay.
reading it to 90s hip hop, which is on my website at joegarrickschildrensbook.com. All right, so let's you tell me, pick a letter and I'll read it. Doesn't matter.
Okay, pick a letter. Daniel. We can't hear you.
I think you're muted. There you go.
Now can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said X. You have an X?
X, of course I have an X. That's like, I feel like that's like the challenge from everybody. Okay. So X, and I'll show you the picture of it as well. So if I get to it here. So here is the X. I don't know how well you can see it.
Okay.
Yes.
It says X is for Xander, and Xander is Azim. That's an Arctic bird you may have never seen. Xander likes to eat bugs, and he has wings that can flap. He might dance on his 2 feet when he hears eggs are the snack.
Okay.
Very cute.
Yeah, and then since I have Y open, I'll pull it up here. But Yosef is young, and he's also a yak who wears a big shaggy coat from his front to his back. If you can't see him, he may be out having a ponder where he traveled on his 4 hooves to go yodel out yonder. So I try to use a lot of alliteration too in my books. I've been told that that's great for, I think the term is phonological learning and helping kids, with learning to read.
Okay, that's
So,
very interesting.
yeah. And a little bit about, the process. I know we had spoken about that. So I spent so much time doing research and trying to figure this out, and I'm still learning, and I'm coming up on, in November, I will have been selling my books for 2 years. I don't know how many I will have written by that point, but right now it would be 5. So, as we spoke at the beginning of this call, I have 2 new ones that I'm in the process of working on. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning the process. I'm still trying to find better ways to get my books out to the masses. I do a lot of my sales at local markets, and a lot of what sells it is me, because I try to make it a very fun experience for the person who's buying it. Now, I want people to love the book, and I hope that they find the humor and they can appreciate it. And I'd love to have my books be who Dr. Seuss is here, or Shel Silverstein, like just, for years and years to come, people are purchasing these. But it takes a lot of work. I spend a lot of weekends out selling and doing this. Yeah, a lot of free time doing that. I'd say it depends, typically it's 2 to 3 Saturdays a month on top of my normal job. And then, in the holiday season, I will work 30 days in a row if I can and get out to sell, because the book market tends to really slow down at the beginning of the year. One thing that I always share, people always have lots of questions, and I do try to be helpful. I've also put together a little bit of a course where I can talk through the process with people that they can purchase and talk to me one-on-one to save them a lot of time. But this teaches how I've done it myself. But the one thing I always tell everybody is write the book first. You can get so hung up on trying to figure out, where do I find an illustrator? How do I find an editor? Where do I produce the book? And if you worry about all that stuff ahead of time, you'll find reasons to doubt yourself and then ultimately to not do it. When I started doing this process, I was always an idea person. I would just always come up with what I thought were these great ideas. And I was always, I've been known, like, amongst my friends, like I was very funny and, like, I guess like a class clown, loved the social element. But I was never a doer. I just was somebody who would come up with the idea and then never execute. So I said in 2020, my wife was going to London for 3 months for a work project. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out while she's gone. And then I did. And then I learned how to replicate the process, a few more times. So, and I love doing it. To date, I started selling books in November of 2020. was my first book. My second book came towards the end of summer of 2021, and then the bagel book came. I didn't receive it until December 14th, which was tough because of supply chain issues. So, I'm still catching up on selling this stuff, but I've sold just over 6,000 copies of my books.
That's
But
a
it's
good number.
yeah, no, it's great, and I'm very proud of it. But it's still a lot of work. I mean, I've got an event tomorrow, and then I'm going on vacation with my family, and I'll try to go to the bookstores down there and sell it while I can. Um, it's a lot of work. So what I tell people, you're not going to get rich from this overnight. Now, maybe you are the person who gets in and a publisher takes you on and you get on the New York Times bestseller or whatever the equivalent is, throughout the world. But, you have to be patient. And I struggle with that sometimes. Some people would be like, wow, look at your success. Look what you've done. And for me, it's like, I'm not where I think I'm capable of being yet. And that motivates me and that drives me. And on those days when I have to get up super early in the morning to be out at a market, or I spend the whole day away from my family doing that, like we talked about earlier, I'm a new father, that's a sacrifice. But it, provides us opportunity to do some different things for me to continue doing these books. And, I try to get on, as many podcasts as I can. And I have somebody who's filming a documentary about me right now, which I was very humbled by the experience. Yeah, which is kind of neat. 2 months ago, I was on the news, telling my story a little bit, but you have to promote yourself. And, marketing and advertising is huge. To be honest, I could be doing a better job of it. It's a balance of time. If you know social media, figure that out. I mean, I know TikTok is the way of the world now, and you can really do it that way. I've got to jump on in. It's not, I could stand and talk in front of thousands of people and be fine, but I always get a little uncomfortable, like videoing myself. So, there's so many different ways to go about producing and publishing books. When we spoke, you asked me about if I'm on Amazon, and the answer is not right now. And I may take that path moving forward. I have some people that I've met along the way that are doing that. And so I ask questions and I learn from them. And that's something I always tell people is like, ask, you never know. And I have people who've gone with publishers. I have, people like myself who've self-published. And, when you're starting out, you got to do most of the work. It really doesn't matter which route you go. Now, there are tricks to Amazon and Etsy where I sell my books on how to become bestsellers. And, that's in my course and I share some of that stuff. But just because you're on these sites doesn't mean you're going to become a bestseller and, that the world's going to be there. It does make it, more easily accessible, especially for, Amazon, because then you can, get things all over the world. It's a little bit more difficult where I am, but I haven't had a lot of international sales so far, but I'm sure after this podcast, it's going to shoot through the roof, right? That's, I'm assuming. So it's, you have to believe in yourself. You have to do the work yourself. And there's a lot of upfront costs doing it this way.
Can you share with us your experience from the reader's side? Meaning you come across a child who has read it, enjoyed, she comes and shares her experience with you. Have you had such experiences?
Sure.
Please share with us.
Yeah, I've had experiences like that. I have some people who continue and they just love my work and they're like, whenever the new book comes, we don't care what it's about, we'll buy it. I've done projects with schools where I read to classes anywhere from, grade school, elementary, all the way up through high school. And I've gotten thank you notes, which is very, it's very humbling. It's nice to know. And some of them are very genuine and those things make the difference. But I had somebody share a story with me about the bagel book recently where the kids make a game out of it and they want to go try every bagel that's in the book and go to every time they go get a bagel. So, that's pretty neat. But people love it. They want to read it. The funny thing is sometimes the kids, I've had some friends tell me this, the kid loves the book, but they just want to see my picture in the front. And then look at that. So You know, but it's, again, it's funny and it's rhyming when I'm out, when I'm out selling. So the Who's Hoof that I showed you earlier is my bestseller. It's my first book. I tell everybody it's my golden child. I always ask the people when they come by, what their child's name is, because there's a good chance a kid's name is in there. But if it's not, I tell them every letter of that kid's name is in this book, because obviously it's about the
Yeah,
So
it's an
again,
awesome.
finding the humor, those things to relate. And I have my sales pitch down when I'm doing that. But yeah, I mean, when somebody gives it as a gift or someone gives it as a smile, and I'll have people come by and they either have the book or they were gifted the book, and then they talk about how great, it is. And that's really touching, and I start to build this brand, and it's slow, and I have to keep putting out the content, keep writing the books, but it's pretty neat to do that and have that experience. So I'm just hoping that it continues to grow, and I can bring smiles to people's faces as I do this.
So all of your books have audio versions of?
Nope, just the first one. That's something I've thought about doing with the others, but it's a lot of work, and I had somebody help me out for free on the first one. I don't know if that would be the case moving forward. So sometimes it's kind of a trade-off, because they use it and it draws traffic to their site as well. I love that. People love that. It's a big selling point. I always try to start out with the thought process that I'm going to do that. You'll notice with my books, all the rhyming patterns are the exact same, because I want people to gauge and understand. Again, this is kind of going back to like a Dr. Seuss. You know how to read his books, and I want people to know how to read mine. So I want to do that, but it's not always easy to match up, the musical element to that and stay on cadence with it. Maybe that's why my career hasn't taken off, as a professional rapper, and I haven't, been over to your side of the world on a tour to perform. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a fun process. It's a lot of work, but I just try to think outside the box and do something different.
Got it. Yeah, I wanted to ask you something. You said, like, when you read the pages of your book, the words were a little heavy, like they were big words. So for a kid to read it, it would be a little tough. And we discussed that it is for the parents who read it to the kids, for them to have fun with it, along with teaching the kids something. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So, a lot of people, when they come up and they ask me about my books and they want to know, well, which one would be best for somebody who is X years old, right? However old they are. And I give the same answer all the time. And I tell people these books are good. I tell people the age range is 0 to 10. And the reason that I say that is, well, to be honest, I don't want to exclude people. I don't want to give people a reason to say no, right? But in all seriousness, I tell people it's 0 to 10 because some kids are very advanced, some kids are on schedule, and some kids are behind. And I don't want to exclude anybody. People buy these books as a gift. They think it's very, it's a neat thing to have the author sign it. And I think that's a big thing of what sells when I sell them in person, because they get to meet me and they sign them. With the larger words, that goes back to being advanced, or helping someone learn to read. Alliteration is big with that I've been told. And again, the rhyming. So if you know the book's going to rhyme, it'll kind of make sense sometimes. With the first book, that is where the audio comes along. So with that one, you could literally read along with me reading it. So if you're not sure how to pronounce the words, you can, hear it from me directly. So it does help with the parents, and, for them being able to read to the kids and go along with it. I learned to read at, kindergarten or first grade. I wouldn't say I'm the world's best reader. I'm actually a pretty slow reader myself. If you knew me growing up, you would have never thought I would have been somebody to write books. Like, I was always funny and creative, but school was very tough for me. I couldn't focus very well. I wasn't interested in it. I loved the social side, gym class, lunch, getting out of school early to go hang out with friends. That was what I was best at. But the actual school itself was not for me. So, I want to make things easy to read, but it's always very important for me to make everything rhyme. And sometimes that's pretty difficult. So, and to
Yes.
keep with the cadence.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
difficult.
usually how children's books go are that they have they somehow like imbibe some form of a moral value or some form of message through those books. Do you do that, or are you just kind of trying to make them aware of things and find things on their own?
So, it's a great question. Okay, I'm going to kind of go through each book and then also the new ones that I'm working with. So the ABC books, it starts out talking about some animals have, let's see, even though I've read this,
Hooves.
thousands of times, I'll tell you what it says. It's like, some animals have hooves that click and other animals have hooves that clack. So let's learn the alphabet together and find out who has hooves, feet, or even wings that flap. So I'm kind of like putting the message out there that we're going to learn about the animals and the ABCs themselves. And then at the end, it talks about we made our way from A to Z. We've learned the alphabet along with all kinds of feet. We hope you will come back and read with us again at least a few more times so you can visit with your friends. In the Bagel book, I tell something about like, this is a book, you want to sit at a table, you should best be sitting at a table because what we're about to discuss are all the fun flavors of bagels. And then at the end, it's like, it basically says something without pulling it up. I know we're on limited time here, but bagels are essentially great, but all bagels are meant to be shared. And you put the thing out about sharing.
Oh,
With the teeth, it's about taking care of your teeth, but then it's like you have this book for your appointment. So the next time you go there, so maybe it encourages a child to go to the dentist or looking forward to it or to not be scared, whatever.
okay.
My other two books, one is about, I told you it's going to be called It's Okay to Be You. It's about all different types of kids, and it's basically about inclusion and being kind and knowing that it's okay to be you when you see people that are different than you. And then the other one is about grief, and that is to convey the message of like, unfortunately, we all have to go through loss. And, it can be a family member, a friend, a pet, whatever. We all are going to experience it. It's the worst thing we have to do, but it's okay to get angry. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. And then, hopefully with a message that, you hopefully you'll see them again. I don't try to push my views or values on anybody else, believe what you believe or you're brought up to believe, but, having these resources out there for people. So I want to have that message. I think I always lead with, typically I lead with the humor and rhyming. So people enjoy it, because when you have a kid and you read to them at night, I'm doing this more and more. And some books I read, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. And some of them, like, how did this get published with a huge publishing agency? Like, and honestly, people may say the same thing about mine. So I just want it to be a great experience. Like I said, the two.
How was your son's response to your book? Did you read it?
He's only 4 months old.
Okay.
But he loves them. He loves them. They're his favorite books.
Okay.
I actually have one in the works. So my son's name is Leo. My dog's name is Theo.
Oh.
Yes, I get it mixed up every day, and that's my own fault. But there was like a story of them meeting together, and I thought that was going to be the next book, but it didn't come to me as quick as the others did. So that's why I'm not running with it.
Okay, interesting.
So, because like you said, because most of your themes it's more based on the rhyme than the others, and you want to set like a particular tone of how your books are to be conceived and how, there's a consistent tone. Do you think that restricts your creative freedom?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's making things rhyme makes it a little tougher, but when I'm motivated and I get going, like, this is where I get to express myself and be. And there are some when I write it, or I write like a portion of it and I'm like, wow, that was good. Like, I'm really proud of myself. And then there's some I'm like, well, now I'm just filling space and I don't feel good about it. So, there's so many ups and downs with.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. So where did we leave off?
Danya?
Yeah, the question was, how did you like? How did that process go? I think my question you had answered. The next question, Ms. Jayanti had asked. I think it was about the process of how did you go about, did you have audiobooks and how did you go about that?
Yes.
And you were
So I
saying the
don't.
first book was free and you could do it, and then the next ones weren't.
So the first book I did it was like a podcast studio that had video capability. So that's why I was able to get in and do that. And it's for a local thing in North Carolina. I don't have other audio versions for books. I would like to have that. It's basically once the book is written, I've got to find time, schedule it, a place to do it, set the music to it. It's just a lot of work and time commitment. And if I am able to do it for free, it's about an hour away from where I live. So not only do I have to schedule the time with them and work out their schedules, I have to figure it out with my regular job, my wife, my other book events. So yeah.
Got it. So yeah, the next thing that we would like to know is, see, when you go through an agent or like a, like a publishing house, what happens is they will, even though they do not, pay or do a lot of marketing, they'll still have, the knowledge in the market space. Like, the publisher will have their market space already. But for you to self-publish your book and find your own market reach and space, how did that work? Like, was it tougher or?
So yes, I mean, it is tougher. This is something I'm still learning. I did speak to one publisher and we, engaged for a while. We spoke about my first book. And then I've spoken to other people who have gone through it. And obviously, like anything else, there's pros and cons. I'm not the expert on it, the publisher side. So I won't be able to probably share as much as somebody who who has worked with them has. What I've learned is that a lot of times when you go through the publisher, the pros are that they get you on all the big platforms like Barnes and Noble and Target and some of these things online, not necessarily in store. And then the downside is, you've got to handle the marketing, you've got to produce the books through them, which can be very expensive compared to like if you just do it all yourself. But you can reach a much bigger audience unless you do the marketing yourself. And a lot of times you got to do the marketing yourself. So I have someone I'm friendly with who lives in Massachusetts. She is also an author. She went through a publisher. I went traditional. We both write children's books. And we've kind of shared our experience. It's tough. I mean, there's just, with the children's books or just books in general, right? There are millions and millions and millions. It is so competitive. It is so hard. If you're not a recognizable name, it's very tough to get out there, and it can happen. I mean, you can do it. You have to be persistent. You have to have drive. I mean, you can't, not everybody's going to be the next J.K. Rawlings or Dr. Seuss or, whoever else it may be, R.L. Stein, to name a couple, but it doesn't mean it can't happen, but you just have to be, persistent. I mean, like I said, I'm writing my, fourth and fifth books, and some of them are better than others. And I know that, and it is tough. Like, and it's a little, it's hard when it's not as good as the previous one, even if you think it is. So, but it feels, but it feels good every time, you sell them. So, and I offer, when I do them in person, I offer deals. So that helps too.
So, because how has social media helped you in your marketing, or has it helped, or are you just doing offline marketing almost all the time?
Okay, so I work in this industry, which I shouldn't even say because I don't do a good job of it. I know how it works. I know what you have to do. So social media is key, and really it's what's going to make it. I'm slowly building a following. I mean, I mostly just do Instagram and Facebook. I don't really utilize TikTok, but it's, building the following, having content posts, like constantly doing it. Having multiple books helps, but people don't care about it. So that's why, like, I try to make the videos funny or some, update when I'm going to be somewhere, when I'm doing something. to get the name out there. But I've got somebody who's actually I'm meeting with this week to take some pictures so I can update my websites and my Etsy page and have some material for some posting as well, to help get the name out there.
And has this social media marketing up to your sales? Like, has it shown any direct relevance to your sales?
Yes. People see it, will see a post, so that means they're going to come out to the event where I'm going to be, or it stays present, and then they'll say, oh, I've got a baby shower I'm going to, or I've got a niece or nephew or something I want to get some books for. And because I always sign every copy of every book. I hope that becomes a problem one day because there's so many, but I hope to continue to always do that.
Oh, brilliant. So I am going to digress a bit. Is it going to be all that way for you? You're going to write only for children, or are you going to also plan to write for adults?
Probably just children. To be honest, I don't think I'm smart enough to write for others. Like spelling.
But writing for children is more tough, tougher.
Yeah, but I mean, my spelling is terrible. My grammar is probably even worse. I can just make it rhyme and make sense and make it fun, and that works in kids' books. I like telling a whole story. I'll be typing an email for somebody at work, and I'm like, man, I sound so smart. They're gonna definitely want to do business with me. This is great. And then, I'll have my wife come in and read an email sometimes, and she'll be like, what are you saying right now? Like, this is not good. Like, you can't say it like this. And so rhyming and making it fun is what works for me. And so I think sticking with the kid side of it does that. I know a big thing that people look for are books that can turn into a series. And, maybe with Who's Hoof, you can make a series about the characters or something. Like, I just go with an idea when it comes to me. I get motivated, I get in the zone, and I do it. So that's why the ideas aren't always consistent. But, I mean, some of the greatest books out there right now are the top selling books are literally just about noises animal makes, things like that. So it's, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
So can you tell us about your entire process? Like, how long does the writing take, and how long do you take to first conceptualize and then write and then, make it into a book and then finally publish it? How long does this entire process take, and how do you go about it? Like, what comes next? What comes after what?
So I can share a lot of it. Some of it I gotta, keep secret because that's how I get people to come do my course and learn. But I will say, yeah, the process. So the writing is not like, I don't know. I mean, like, my first book probably took me 2 months. The second book took me about 20 minutes. The third book took me about a month and a half. The fourth book has taken me 2 months. I had another one in the works. I kept getting writer's blocks. I had to move on. That one's taking months. The book I wrote about grief took me 15 minutes. I have an idea. There's something that's there, and it's just like, it's like Zoom, and it's like tunnel vision. It's what I see, and then I go through and do it and write it. So that part is.
Then you go through editing.
No, I don't do the editing. I mean, I use Grammarly, which is you can get online. I think I pay for it every year, but there's like a free version that does some stuff. And then my wife actually does my editing. She's really good at Scrabble as well, so she can fix the spelling.
Joe, we have to talk about the 2 new books you said about. Yes, share with us because it's more relevant to the current affairs. I think one is about the grief. The previous one you said is about you be yourself, something like that, is it? But
yeah, so it's called It's Okay to Be You, and the
It's Okay
grief
to
book
Be
right
You.
now is and the other book right now is called The Grief Book. That's what I have it titled as. I mean, it may not end up being called that. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to try some different approaches with how to get these out, because with my other books, people will buy it as a gift or a baby shower or, a holiday present. People aren't going to do that for grief, right? And I don't want to produce and have thousands of books about grief in my garage trying to sell those. Like, I want to make the content available but I don't want to have it all, same regard. So I don't know. And this, like I said, I'm always learning. I'm always trying to figure some of this stuff out. That's why I said, like, I try to help people, and I want people to help me, but it's like I've spent so much time learning the process and doing it. Like, I don't mind giving some tidbits here and there, but like there's also an opportunity for me to make money off of my process to share with others. And again, I sacrifice my time, I sacrifice being away from family to do this. So it also has to make sense. Like, I want this to become, I'm trying to build something.
I think you can promote your book on grief in hospitals and orphanages. Like, it could be a giveaway gift or something instead of like a birthday gift. It could be like a donation or something, because that way children that you want to read them would read them and they will not be offended also.
You're spot on. And ironically, when I was at the hospital back in February having my son, well, actually my wife had him, but we were pregnant. I had time to go like walk around the hospital, in those first days. So I went into the gift shops and I saw children's books in there. So I went and I asked who's in charge, how they choose their books. And I ended up meeting the lady who manages the gift shops, and I think there's a handful of them. And we get to talking, and she ends up purchasing my largest single order ever, and for Who's Hoof and the Bagel book, and has them in the hospital. However, while we were speaking, I had the idea for It's Okay to Be You, but I had only written a little bit of it. And she was telling me about her granddaughter who has one of the, I don't know the correct terminology, but maybe one of the conditions or that I was going to mention in the book, and how there's not much in the way to represent, what her granddaughter has. And so I shared the idea with her, and she loved it. So, I think it will be something to do with that. I mean, the hospitals would be a great place for grief. I just, I haven't gotten there yet. It used to be this, I could, fly through this process and do it, but, finding the illustrators for these things, and if that is the route I want to go, because if I, producing this stuff, like a lot of times, most people, you got to find your own editor. You got to pay. So you got to pay an editor. You got to pay an illustrator. You got to find the production company. You got to pay for the books themselves, and you got to pay for the shipping. And typically, I did mine overseas, and it's still expensive, versus like doing it here. Like, I wish I could do it here for turnaround time, but it's significantly more expensive that I do it overseas. But then that takes months and months and months to happen. So, it's again, it's an evolving process, and I'm learning and, going from there.
Are you planning to get some kids read It's Okay to Be You and the other book on grief? Do you plan to get any kid to read it, or read to the kid to get some response? Do you do that kind of a thing before the book goes for publishing? Do you test the waters, as in get the young reader to listen to you? Yeah. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I did that. It's typically with people that are closer to me, because it's easily accessible. And, some of my newer books I've been like reading to people just to get their thoughts, and I've gotten like tears on these new ones from people, which made me feel good that it, went that well. So kids, yes. But what I will say about kids is that I could have the funniest things in the world to read to them. If they don't have pictures, it's hard for them to pay attention.
Very true.
They'll like it, but if it's longer than their attention span is, and look, I get it, I don't have a long attention span either, so it's,
yeah, I understand. Yeah, they need pictures. I know. Yeah.
And do you think, like, because see, the first book was on hoofs, and the second was because these are two very visual, tangible things so that you could easily illustrate them. But when it comes to who you are, or like grief, they're they're emotions. They're much deeper than what you can signify through a drawing or an illustration. How do you think that can,
Yeah,
Don't
so
you
that
think that?
no, that one's going to be, I mean, that's going to be a little tougher.
Is there
You
a
know, my wife
story running for the
What's
grief
that?
and the, is there a story running for It's Okay to Be You? And is there a story for the grief also? Is there a story
Or
behind?
is it a
Yeah,
rhyme
so
as usual?
so the grief book is shorter. And my wife actually had the idea of having, like, you know, some puppies going through some emotions, or some dogs or something. Like,
Mhm.
I've written that one. I don't know yet from an illustration. I haven't gotten that far with it. It's Okay to Be You will, you know, it's going to have kids that all look very different, you know, kids that are tall, that have grown to be very tall, and kids that don't grow much at all. And, you know, there's going to be kids
Different
that
skin
are,
colors.
yeah, skin
Yeah.
colors, kids without limbs, kids that are going through cancer, you know, all kinds of stuff.
No,
So
no.
yeah,
I think what she was trying to ask was, like, are the last two books like a fictional story, or are they your usual rhymes?
Hmm.
they will be rhyming.
Mhm.
But
You
if
know,
there is a
each one,
story,
but
that
Is
you
there
get
like a
more scope for illustration if there is a story, right? That's why I asked you.
yeah, I mean, there's a story. I mean, I'd say it's kind of written the same way. I mean, the book is about, um, I'll tell you what, here, hang on one second, and I will show you.
Mhm.
I'll read you the first 2 pages of what this book sounds like, so you can maybe get an understanding if that's
Sure,
helpful.
sure.
Every night you go to sleep, and the next day will be new. You will see all kinds of people, none of whom look exactly like you. Remember, it's okay to be you. We all come from different places. This means we're not all the same. Our differences are what make us special, just like each of our names. Remember, it's okay to be you. And then it goes through and it talks about all the different types of kids or scenarios or situations or whatever. So,
Okay.
and at the end, it does round up to tell them, like, let's make a new friend and teach each other that it's okay to be you. Like, let's accept each other, you know, in our differences.
Very nice.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think now it's time for us to go to the next segment of LOL, which is the World of W's. World of W's is like a set of W questions. It's for the audience who couldn't sit through this entire session, and they could just get the gist of this entire session from the short segment. That's the point of this. So your answers may not have to be like descriptive, or you don't have to go in depth. You can just give us like a gist. That will be this segment. Yeah, I think I'll start with the first question. The first question is, I mean, when is your next book due?
That will depend on if I do it myself or if I go a different route. If I do it myself, it'll probably be early next year. If I get help and take a different platform, I don't know that answer yet.
Got it. So, where can our audience find your work? Like all your work, is there a place where all of your work is put in one?
Yes, you can go to Joe Garrick's childrensbooks.com, which is my name and website. You can also go to Etsy.com and find, you can search by my name or by the book titles, and you should be able to find everything there as well.
Why only children's books?
Just for my style of writing. It's short, easy, it's funny, it's witty. I can make it rhyme, and it's much easier to bring to life. And it's for the, somebody with the, shorter attention span, whether it's for your car ride, going on a trip, if you're trying to help get the kid to bed, if you are doing something to help them learn or help them read. And I think based on my skill set, the children's book is the, world that I feel most comfortable in and capable in.
Would you be taking up traditional publishing, or go through a publisher or an agent in the future, or do you want to continue this?
No, I would definitely welcome that, and going to a traditional publisher. I mean, ultimately my goal is to get my books out to as many people as possible. So I'm not afraid to ask for help. I just want to make sure I do my research and my homework and do it the right way.
Okay. How has your career or your aspiring career as a rapper or a hip hop, music artist helped you in writing this book, writing your books?
The ability to make things rhyme has been like, it's like a marriage, like I just couldn't do it. Like I wouldn't be able to write these books without doing that. And so it's, it may be one of the, if not the, strongest elements in the, providing the success for me to get these books out, bring them to life and sell them.
So how do you think the world will be without creativity?
Oh, terrible. I mean, creativity is what makes us special. It's what makes each of us who we are. And I don't think there's a right or wrong to creativity. Everybody has their own way of addressing creativity. Some of us are writers, some of us are musicians, some of us, like to paint or draw. But creativity is also starting a business, coming up with an idea that makes something better. I mean, Jeff Bezos, the guy who started Amazon, creative guy. He came up with this, Bill Gates and the team from Apple and all this, people who created the internet and people who created the iPad and the iPhone and the person who created TV, the guy who created light bulb. I mean, everything is creativity. So I don't think our world would be where we are without it.
Thank you for answering that.
So if you can give a few final passing words to our audience who are aspiring writers who would want to be children's book writers, and if you could share with us how the session went and how did you like it?
Advice I would give to people, the first thing I tell people is believe in yourself. The second thing I tell somebody is write the book. Stop worrying about everything else. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can find somebody to fix it. You can find somebody to edit it. You can find somebody to draw the images. You can find somebody to help you bring it to life. Just write it. It's you, it's your mind, it's your idea, it's your creativity, and you never know what an impact it will make on the people around you or, the world itself. So put it, for lack of better terms, put the pen to paper, make it happen. Take your time. It gets tough. It may come quickly to you. It may take forever, and there's no right or wrong. I mean, especially in the children's book world, there are books about everything, and some are good and some are bad, and that's all open for interpretation. And the bad ones still sell hundreds of thousands of copies, and sometimes the good ones don't sell at all. So it's crazy how that works, but just do it. And ask for help, be persistent, positively persistent, but, be humble. Don't assume you know everything, because sometimes you might miss out by thinking you do. And then to answer your question, I think the segment was great. I love the rapport. I love having a conversation versus me just like telling everything. Like I like the questions. I think that's key. And let me know when it's out and about and ready to share and some more images, and I'll put it on my social media and how people can, contact it. But feel free to use me as a resource, share my story. If you ever want me to come back on or, want updates about things, just let's continue to stay in touch. I'm friendly.
Yes.
I don't bite. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be on here. Any opportunity like this to share my story and what I'm doing, I always feel is
do connect. Keep connected.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for gracing